All right, there we go. So what we're going to do is um, I'm going to just show you how to use a particular database. So I'm going to share uh, whale. And can you see? Oh, wow. Are you all seeing Foundation Directory online?
Yes.
Yes, everybody's seeing that. Okay. Because I've got three screens, so I'm not always sure what you're going to see as well. So, um, so there are a bunch of different ways to look for grants, but we're talking specifically about private foundation grants. And the reason for that is it's a little bit more simple application process, and I feel like it's a good way to learn. And so uh, the thing that distinguishes the foundation directory from other databases you can get, and it does cost money, is that the foundation center, which is where the foundation directory comes from, communicates with pretty much every private foundation in the world. Certainly all the ones in the United States, but most of the ones overseas as well. Um, and why is that important? More than 90% of um, foundations do not have a website. Uh, when I first started working with them, the Kennedy Foundation, which at the time had a $250 million endowment, did not have a website. Because, and again, I think I may have mentioned this in the videos, but if you think about it, a foundation is just a bank account. And somebody gave money and they want to use the interest to over time to do good and do charity as well. So often they're managed by banks, real estate offices, anybody with sort of this that does money management as well. So a lot of times, foundations, sometimes even foundations that are pretty wealthy don't have websites. So you need some way to access this data. And so the foundation directory is the most useful one to use, I think. And it does cost money. And I'm not saying you should buy it, but if you're going to be like a freelance grant writer, if it's going to be your job, you should consider getting it. And if you're going to work as a grant writer within an organization, you should, and you're going to go after private foundation grants, you should lobby your employer to buy this. So it's a database, and it works some ways like our TAMUCC database. What I recommend first is doing kind of a natural language kind of search. Then you figure out what the keywords the database is using, and then add, subtract. So we're looking for to money to increase produce.
I don't think we can get to this point because when I tried to get to this point, I hit a paywall.
Oh yeah,
And
you can't.
okay,
I'm going to do this. That's why I'm doing it for you. And that's why when you do
okay,
that's why when you do your individual grants, I will do this for you as well. I mean, I'll have an appointment just like this, but it'll be just us one on one, and I'll do this. Nope. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is a paywall.
okay.
And the university pays the subscription for this course, and I make it available to you. Might increase produce delivery for rural elderly clients of the food bank. I'm of Corpus Christi because all that's called the food bank of the Coastal Bend. They probably won't know outside of Texas or even outside of here what the Coastal Bend is, but they will know what Corpus Christi is. So this is our natural language search, and we just get a preliminary look. So we get 16,000 grant makers. That's a little much. So
Yeah.
Jonah's going to look through all of these for us, and the rest of us will go have coffee. No, well, maybe not. So what we want to do an advanced search. We want to see what terms they gave us. So food bank. All they did was food banks and economically disadvantaged people. So we can add keywords um, to narrow it some a little bit. So we do Corpus Christi, Texas, and we'll search. We'll add that keyword, and that gets us down to 63. That's actually a pretty good number. because what's going to happen is, for a lot of reasons, these aren't going to apply, and you just have to plow through them all. You just have to go through and look and see which ones are good fits and which ones aren't. Now I'm gonna kind of skip down because this is the second group I've done this with, but I could add like I could add age groups, adults. I could do ethnic and racial groups if we wanted to focus on that. I could do nutrition, lots of different things, but I could add those things as well. But like I said, 63 is a pretty good amount to start looking at as well. And I got as far as the Doherty Foundation in terms of where I was looking. So I'm just gonna just skip down to here because there's no point in me pointing to foundations that the other group might be using as well. So we're gonna start with the SAMS Foundation. So let's click on that. And okay, and so it gives us stuff. And so I know that when we read Karsh and Fox, they say don't do the quick read, read everything thoroughly. And I'm going to tell you slightly different advice. Do the quick read first, and then the stuff that you think's a good fit, read thoroughly, because there's no point in reading something completely thoroughly if you know they're not a good fit. So what we're doing, and the first thing we look for, just really preliminary, is do they fund what we're doing? Do they fund where we are? Is the dollar amount right? And when's the deadline? So are we fundable where we're at this dollar amount? And will this fit with our time frame? Because we can find great grants, but if the deadline was February 2nd, no good. So what we're doing is human services.
Professor,
Yes.
Alyssa's in the waiting room.
Well, I don't have a notification on her. Oh, wait. I see her now. Hi, Alyssa. I got a check mark. I assume you can hear us, Alyssa?
I can hear you.
All right, great. Well, we have started looking at the database, and I have been recording this. And so if you kind of go back up a little bit from whatever point we're at, you can see sort of how you get in and how you do a basic search. And basically, well, I'll just go ahead and go back. We did a language, basically a simple language search. Then we said money to, I'll go all the way back. Okay, it says, well, I'm really going to go all the way back here. So money to increase produce delivery for rural elderly clients for the Food Bank of Corpus Christi. That gave us 16,000 sources, which Jonah didn't want to read all himself. So we decided we need to narrow that down a little bit. So we basically added a couple of search words and we got it down to Corpus Christi, and we have 63 grant makers. And this is actually a good dollar amount to be looking at because, or good amount to be looking for, because a lot of these are going to be a no. So I jumped down to, was I on where was I, the Rochelle?
You were on Earl C. Sam.
On SAMS. Okay, on SAMS. Okay. And so we basically said we do a preliminary search, which is, do they fund what we're doing? Do they fund where we're giving? It's the dollar amount we're going for, right? And what's the deadline? So this is as far as we got. So basically asking the first three questions. Do they fund what we're doing, bearing in mind what we do, human services? Do they fund where we're at? And is a $5,000 grant an appropriate amount for this foundation? What do y'all think?
I think I need more information.
Well, should we scroll? I guess the question is, do we scroll down further? I mean, is there anything that makes us say no, we'll give up and go to the next thing here?
I think it looks good. Like so far, looking at the diagrams. Also, sorry, I'm like out, not at in a secure location. So if you hear the wind, I'm sorry.
No problem. But yeah, you got human services, and they give more to environment, but human services in Texas, and certainly they've given $5,000 amounts is not an unusual thing, so it's worth at least rolling down the page. Okay, so we can get a little bit more detailed subjects. They do human services. They get a lot more specific than that. They give in Ecuador, Lebanon, Syria, and Texas. That's interesting. Children and youth,
Yeah.
but low income people, rural, elderly, generally so. They do cash grants, in-kind gifts, matching grants, healthcare, youth and community development, and the environment, background, incorporated in Texas. So what do they want? They want electronic submissions. There's an application form required. They want the supporting material. Deadlines are March, June, and November. So probably we won't get it done before March, but it doesn't say when in March. Certainly we could meet the June deadline as well. So we go through and we find their website. This is a maybe, I would say. There's nothing that says, oh, yes, this is exactly the right foundation, but they would be worth an approach. So I'm just going to list this as a maybe. And with a question mark by it as well. And so we're going to just work our way down the list. And again, I know this isn't exciting, but that's grant writing is not hard. It's just a lot of hard work. And successful grant writers are the people who are willing to do the legwork, to look through the extra sources, look for the research, and get the writing done. So we were at Sam's. Let's go to Compass Bank Foundation as well. Okay. Community and economic development, education, human services. Lots of giving in Texas. It looks like they give more in Texas than anybody else. $5,000 grants are their happy place. Okay. Is there a Compass Bank in Corpus Christi?
I'm
not sure.
Yeah, because we'll look a little bit more. Maybe we got to find that out before we go further. Because I'm sure one of their things is we got to have a bank in your city. It'll say something like,
yeah, I think there is one.
yeah. I kind of think there's one back by. I was gonna say where the old macaroni grill used to be, which tells you how long I've been here.
Yeah, it says there's 3 locations.
Okay, so there are 3 locations, so we're at least not wasting our time as well. So they do food banks, human services. Okay, they give in all these places, including Texas. Children and youth, I think racial groups, low income people. Okay, so low income people there as well. Cash grants. Through charitable contributions, foundation creates social value by investing in projects that directly impact low to moderate income communities. Grants reflect our 6 focus areas: community development, education, health, human services, arts and culture, natural environmental resources, eligible 501c3 nonprofit organizations located in states where BVA Compass has a presence are eligible for funding. So that's why it was important to ask, is there a bank in Corpus?
There's 3 locations.
3 locations, yeah. So we got background, program areas. Okay. Health education, access to health care. Pretty good. All applications are encouraged to send me monthly charitable contribution process, conference calls and webinars, complete eligibility quiz and online application. So that means there's a web, and the eligibility quiz, it's going to be pretty standard. Are you a nonprofit? Do you do this? And it's something that Yeah, I think this is a pretty good fit, actually. I mean, not perfect, but certainly the dollar amount, the fact that they've got it here, they've got they really focus on low income people and rural elderly. I mean, all of the clients, I mean, almost all the clients for the food bank are going to be low income. So let's just make this as a possible list as well.
What about the Edward Shaw Foundation?
One of the other groups grabbed it basically, and it
Okay.
also focuses more on well, I'll look at it with you. Actually, come to think of it, I think we had a reason for not doing it. Larger grants, children and youth, LGBT people, and students. That's why we didn't do it, because it
Okay.
doesn't seem to be right. And remember, priorities change. Right now, it doesn't seem to be focusing on elderly and low income people. So that was why we. So Compass New Star. Okay,
Hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, that looks like not a lot of human services, but if you look at the
Yeah.
human services, it's $1.6 million. So
Yeah.
that's some kwacha there. 18 million grants in Texas, mainly $5,000. Arts and culture, cancer, human services, food
Food
banks,
banks.
Texas, low income people. Supports organizations of arts and culture, education, youth human services, human development. Give those application form what required. So you basically send them a proposal and they say yes or no. So
That sounds good to me.
sounds reasonable, actually. New Star. And let's see if we can find one more. Folks, it never goes this well. I don't know why. We're 3 for 3. I'm like, it's still. Didn't we look at it still as an exercise?
I think so. It
Class.
sounds familiar.
Human services, almost all in Texas, lots of $5,000 grants, low income people, food banks, human services, primarily for higher education, but the other categories, application form required. They want this data initial approach. You send them a letter, but you need the application. So you would have to call them, say, hey, how do we get an application? But I think it's worth a shot. So we've got Earl Sam's, Compass Bank, New Star, and the Still. So these are likely funding sources. And so the way the process would work, if you're doing this by yourself, which you will on your individual grants, would be you would get your agency's permission to approach these foundations as a volunteer on behalf of the organization. So Drake, you would say, what was the name of the shelter?
Edgar and Ivy's Cat Sanctuary.
Okay, this is Drake Gibson. I am a volunteer grant writer working on behalf of Edgar and Ivy's Cat Shelter, a nonprofit 501c3 located in Corpus Christi. We need approximately $5,000 to help fund the creation of an ICU for animals who are basically a cat ICU, and intensive care unit for animals who have been severely injured or are sick. Is this the kind of program your foundation would consider funding? And then they will tell you yes or no, or call somebody else, all of which are good answers. But in the interest of time, I'm just going to go ahead and talk to, I'm going to do this step for you this time. But know that like with this one, you would I mean, I'm gonna call, still and say, hey, basically give them this pitch. Chuck Etheridge, grant writer, volunteer grant writer working on behalf of the Food Bank for Coastal Bend. We're looking for approximately $5,000 to help us increase the delivery of produce for rural elderly clients. Is this the kind of project the Estelle Foundation would consider funding? It's the pitch, in other words. And they'll say yes, no, maybe so. And if they say yes, they'll give me their form and we can fill it out. So I'm going to do this step for you all. And then hopefully by the end of the week, we can have identified a funder for your team, which is blue, right? So,
We're green.
oh, you're green. Okay. Well, I
Yep.
wore the wrong color shirt. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
And so that's where we're at. You got 4 likely funding sources, and we'll go to Robert Morales and make sure that, and hopefully one of these is a good fit. If not, we'll keep going until we come up with a good lead for Team Green. So, questions for me?
This ties into Friday's assignment, doesn't it? Or do we just have to have
Yeah,
something locked
this
in?
is your work for Friday. Yeah. So you're getting ahead of the game, so to speak. Yes, this is your work for Friday.
So I guess the question is, in a perfect world, the foundation responds to you, they get the application back in time. Our assignment for Friday would be like filling out their specific application.
Oh, no. Because I'm sorry, there's lots of data and there's a bunch of work that has to happen, and pretty much grants always need a project description, always need a need statement. They always need some other things as well. This is just finding out what our homework is, because every grant is different and has different requirements. And so you're actually going to teacher to get the homework, and everybody else is working on what the homework probably is, if that makes sense.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Other questions?
For the Friday's assignment, you said that we had to write a discussion about our funding source and write what the funder's goals/priorities are and how our food bank project is in keeping with them.
Right.
So we have like a discussion board that we had to write together.
Right. And then one of y'all will turn it in, or y'all will work together. Drake, who's your communicator, will turn it in, and he'll make sure all your names are in the subject line, and I'll go through and give you all credit for having done that. Now, that is assuming, and I'm hoping, because I'll get back to Robert either this afternoon or early tomorrow morning and say, hey, are these okay? And hopefully he approves that. If for some reason we can't lock it in by Friday, then you can just say, hey, we met with you, Dr. E. We didn't get it, and none of these sources panned out. I try to keep things on a specific schedule so you know how things are supposed to go. But whenever you deal with grant writing, whenever you do any course that actually deals with the real world doesn't always follow the academic calendar. So I just ask y'all to, we're just going to be hopeful together, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And if the deadline is missed, it's missed because the world didn't follow our calendar. Yes, something else you want to ask, Drake?
Yes. For whatever foundation Mr. Morales selects, will we get like a PDF similar to the
You'll
three
get
that were
this.
presented? Okay,
this one. You'll get exactly what I showed you for the foundation that Mr. Morales selects.
Perfect.
Okay. Unless it's one of the corporate foundations, in which case I'll get you that. And I will also register, take the eligibility quiz, and give you all the forms they want. Like if they got a form, I'll give you the form, cool, or whatever. So it just depends on what it is. But I will give you everything I've got as soon as Mr. Morales says, or.
Excellent.
All right.
No, leave Tumbado.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay, well, thank you all for your time. I have recorded this meeting and I'll just go ahead and I'll upload the video and send it to all of y'all. You may not need it, but this way you'll have it as a record if you do need to refer to it later. So thanks for
Okay.
your time.
Thank you.
Good work so far, and I'll be I'll be in touch as soon as I know something. So all right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
All right,
Professor.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye now.
Bye.